Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Simply Ree, and I hope all 300 of you are here today because I have a story time about me moving back to Sydney from London. So yes, this is my first video back home, which is so crazy. I have not been here in 2 whole years, and it feels like 6 months and it feels like 10 years all at the same time. As you can probably tell, I'm coming at you live from my quarantine hotel in Sydney, and don't worry, I'm sure I'm going to have some quarantine vlogs for you at some point, but for right now, let's just get straight into it. So guys, like and subscribe so I know that you're all enjoying my content. Let's go. So firstly, I booked my flights 6 months in advance, so I booked them in January of this year because it was right in the middle of another UK lockdown, and the UK and Australia both had really strict COVID laws, so I just really wanted to get in there, get it booked, and hopefully that was going to shave some of the cost off as well, booking so far in advance. So that is what I did first. So at this time, because we were in a lockdown, it was really hard to actually secure a flight. There were only 4 airlines that were flying to Australia. So it was Etihad, Qatar, Singapore Airlines, and JAL or ANA, the Japanese airlines. This pretty much changed weekly because the laws keep changing, and the caps that were allowed back into Australia, they changed all the time as well. So it was really hard to keep up with, and it got to a point where Etihad and Qatar were bumping their passengers off a lot of flights. They were cancelling a lot of flights and not providing anyone with any alternatives, which scared the hell out of me, to be honest. So I did see that a lot of people were booking through a travel agent, which ultimately is what I did. I chose to book with Flight Centre Australia. I thought that having an Australian-based travel agent was actually going to help a little bit more. I'm not really sure if it did, but anyway, I had a great experience with them. They were super quick to reply, even with the time difference. They were knowledgeable and reliable, and yeah, honestly, I would really recommend them if you're looking for a travel agent. Yeah, they were really super helpful. So like I mentioned before, lots of flights were getting cancelled, so the most reliable option and secure option was actually to go with one of the Japanese airlines. So at the time, the easiest way for me to get home without the fear of being cancelled or bumped was to fly from London to Frankfurt to Tokyo, and Tokyo to Sydney. It definitely sounds like it was an around the world trip, and honestly it felt like it at the time, but it got us there in the end, and I'm really thankful for it. It was honestly the only option that I thought was actually going to get me home because they were the airlines that I saw were having the most success. So that's ultimately why we booked it. So we flew with Lufthansa from Heathrow to Frankfurt. That was our very first flight. Only took an hour and a half, which was really nice. It was at the crack of dawn. It was a 6:30 flight, which was a lot to say the least. And then we flew ANA, so All Nippon Airways, from Frankfurt to Tokyo, and then ultimately Tokyo to Sydney with them as well. So on to the next little bit, baggage allowance. We were allowed 1 checked bag, and it was 23 kilos. This kind of hurt my soul because I'm a hoarder, and I had a lot of stuff that I had to ultimately get rid of, which was really devastating. So we were allowed 1 checked bag each, 23 kilos, 2 carry-on items, so a personal item like a laptop holder case thing or like a briefcase, I don't know, and then like a backpack or like a tote bag, which was allowed to be 8 kilos altogether. We did end up having 1 bag that was 30 kilos. We knew this was going to happen. Because of COVID, they don't let you pay for extra baggage until you're actually at the airport, which is something to note. So we already knew this was going to happen, and the airport was really quick with us. They were really easy to kind of be like, yeah, look, sorry, it's over, this is what you're going to have to pay. We did end up paying an extra £120, which honestly isn't really that bad. I've seen people being charged thousands for extra bags, and yeah, honestly, not really surprised. It's kind of a general quote anyway. So yeah, definitely something to consider, but yeah, ultimately it didn't really get in the way. Anyway, at Heathrow, there was pretty much no social distancing. We stood in a big queue for about an hour to actually be able to go through customs and board. And after that, when we were actually on the flight, it was fully booked. There was no social distancing. There was every single seat taken, and it blew my mind. Everyone did have masks, which was nice and kind of reassuring, but yeah, ultimately it was pretty packed. It was really weird, to be honest. Check-in and customs was actually relatively easy. You need to have, obviously, your passport is a big one. Don't forget that one. You do also need to have a fit to fly certificate. So you need to have a PCR COVID test 2 days before your flight or sooner, but it does usually take like a day to get the results back. So I would probably do it within the 48-hour window and not 24. You do then get emailed a certificate that says you don't have COVID and you're fit to fly, and every airport that you go to is going to need to see that. So have it handy, have it on you, ready to go. If you're flying into Australia specifically, you need to do also an Australian travel declaration, which is on the government website. I will link it in the description. And it pretty much is all about your quarantine and where you're coming from and your flight journey. It's really easy, and you have to do it at least 3 days before your flight. So you have to do it, honestly, the sooner the better, pretty much. You do used to have to have a passenger locator form. This doesn't exist anymore. Some people still talk about it, but all you need is your passport, your COVID test, and to have that declaration done. Another thing with the PCR test is that you need to have it done within 48 hours of your first flight. So not the flight that you're actually going into Sydney, it's just the start of your journey. So when we got to Frankfurt, we were exhausted. We couldn't keep our eyes open because we'd stayed up all night waiting for our lift to the airport, and eventually we just kind of crashed in McDonald's for a little while, yeah. And then we went and sat in one of their like leisure lounge things, and then literally both of us out like a light. So we freaked out a little bit and moved ourselves to the boarding gate, and then got a coffee, and we're feeling much better. And then we boarded our flight to Tokyo. We were actually really excited because we've never been to Japan before. You aren't allowed to leave the airport in Tokyo, which does suck, but you know, the vibes were great. So we boarded, and ANA were absolutely fantastic. I love them. I would 100% fly with them again. I wish they could fly me anywhere that I wanted to go. I thought they were fantastic. The flight was socially distanced. So there were rows of 3, and it was, if you were traveling together, there were the 2 seats, 1 free in the middle. If you were on your own, you pretty much got that whole row to yourself. Incredible. They had really spacious seats. I think we were kind of lucky. We were just in this section before the next class starts, so we did get extra leg room, but because it was socially distanced, you could put your seat back and not worry about someone else being behind you. It was truly a blessing. And we flew economy, of course, everywhere we went, and it cost us around £700 each, so roughly $1,400 each. I know it sounds like a lot to fly one way, and if it wasn't COVID times, it would be, but because of COVID, £700 each was actually really cheap. There were actually a lot of people in this Facebook group that I was in sharing what they cost, sharing what they spent, to come home, and it went into thousands and thousands of dollars. Again, freaked me out. But this is the benefit of booking with a travel agent. They can find you cheaper flights, they can find you the best price for you, and that's why I would definitely recommend them. The next thing, if you haven't already noticed, I am a terribly picky eater. So I was really scared about the plane food. I thought, just not going to eat for a good 48 hours, who knows. But ANA, of course, they were really, really great. We had dinner and breakfast. Breakfast was like eggs and a little fruit bowl and a bun. Pretty standard, but it actually wasn't really that bad. The dinner was penne pasta with tomato sauce and cheese, and it actually was delicious. I remember just like taking all of that as quickly as I could. It was so nice. And then they even gave you these little pods of ice cream. They were so cute, and it was just the best. And yeah, it was all like timely. It was brilliant. Any questions you had, the staff were there. Yeah, it was really, really good. 100% love them. And then every now and then they'd bring you like a little muffin, a little bit of tea, coffee, just to kind of, keep going. But yeah, overall it was really good. Flight entertainment wise, I mean, I've definitely had better, but it wasn't really that bad. I mean, everyone just uses Netflix these days anyway, right? So we had tons of stuff downloaded, ready to go, because yeah, I mean, Glenn was happy, he got to watch the Euros, so not bad. And then after 11 hours flying from Germany to Tokyo, we finally arrived and we were ushered straight from the plane, taken to this little spot for like people that had connecting flights, and yeah, they pretty much dropped us off there. We had to go through a whole bunch of security again, so all of our bags, us, and show all of our COVID tests again. So like I said before, have it on you ready to go because they want to see your boarding pass, your passport, your COVID test, everything. And then we finally ate again. We found this little restaurant. Pretty much everything in the airport was actually closed. So when you have a 14-hour layover, there is nothing to do. I promise you, nothing to do. Especially in COVID times, no retail, no restaurants, nothing. We had like a little snack of, I think it was fries and some rolls. But after that, we were like, yeah, okay, we need to go and stay in one of their airport lounges. Cannot recommend doing that more. It gives you a secure place to kind of keep your bags. You can shower there. They had buffet foods, and everyone stayed in like their little cubes, like a little pod. I'll put a picture here. This is me falling asleep in my pod. And yeah, it was just really great. It was so relaxing after a flight like that, and we definitely needed it. The cost of that was actually 70 Australian dollars each. I thought that was actually really good. Like I said, you can shower here, you can eat as much as you want pretty much because they just have the kitchen like open for you. And yeah, 70 Australian dollars, not bad. The whole time we were overseas, we were just traveling, we just used our Monzo cards as usual, does the conversion for you. It was really, really simple. We didn't convert any money, we didn't really need to. So yeah, that was actually really great. And we crashed in that lounge for nearly 10 hours. We were just like asleep, awake for 5 minutes, sleep again, like the whole time. Watching TV as well, they had TV, everyone was there, really, really helpful. The staff were so nice. So if you need to fly anywhere, try and book with ANA. I think they are fabulous. So yeah, of course we would have loved to go on and explore Tokyo for the day, but COVID sucks. So we're just really, really thankful that we had our lounge. It was perfect. On to the next bit. We went to the gate to board our last final flight. Thank God, because this was like 48 hours at this point. It was so long. And we're just chilling at the gate, looking around, and I just didn't really see many people. I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, maybe they're running late, maybe they're coming soon, fine. And then they start taking everyone's boarding passes, and we're on this plane that fits 250 people, and guess how many are on there? Just guess. No, 14. There were only 14 of us on that flight. Can you believe that? Part of me was kind of mad because I know for a fact there are hundreds, if not thousands of people in the UK trying to get home to Australia, and I just wish it was more accessible. It just doesn't really make sense to be doing long international flights with 14 people on it. In saying that, I'm so thankful and blessed that we actually got on that flight again. Thank you to our magnificent travel agent, Flight Centre Australia, who was fabulous. But yeah, I mean, it was just really eerie. It was weird looking around and there was like no one on the plane with you. Super weird. The positives, of course, is that we could just lay out wherever we wanted. We were just chilling, and because it was an overnight flight, we actually left at 10:30 p.m. So overnight, we didn't really have anything other to do than sleep, which was really good. Like I said, no one on the flight, so I just went to a separate row. I lifted up all the armrests and I got to just lay down like I was actually in bed across the 3 seats, and I slept like a baby for almost half the flight. It was probably the smoothest journey I've had in a long time, if not ever. There was hardly any turbulence. It was a bit iffy here and there, but everything was really smooth. Everyone was really reassuring, and it just was a really good flight. Like, yes, it did take 2 days to go from door to door, but it was really good, and yeah, I would do it again. So after 8.5 hours, it actually took shorter. It was meant to be 9 hours, but we got into Sydney and it was, I think, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. Honestly, I can't remember because I barely knew my own name at that point. But we landed in Sydney and it was stunning. I actually shed a little tear coming in because I just couldn't believe that after 2 years I was finally home. But then when we got off the plane, it was really kind of eerie again. I don't know if anyone's been following, but at the moment, as of recording, the UK has about 10,000 cases of COVID a day popping up, and Sydney right now is kind of in a lockdown with around 40 cases, which is crazy for here. But because of that, when we got off the plane, I didn't see a single other soul. I barely even saw people that worked there. There was no one around. I've never seen Sydney Airport look that dead. It was crazy. So then we were taken all along in this line, socially distanced line, of course, to a lady that took our temperature. Then we moved on to another nurse lady who kind of did like a questionnaire for us, an overall like examination of how we were feeling. And then, we just had to show our tests again, and they took us to a little room where the police and the defense force were waiting for us. And then they just loaded up all of our bags and put them in this minibus, and we're like, okay, get on the bus. And we're like, okay, where are we going? And they didn't tell us. So we just all got onto the bus, sat in silence for a while, and then we waited to be shown to our quarantine hotel. Also, it kind of looked like there was some kind of zombie apocalypse happening because everyone was dressed head to toe in like full PPE, like we were in a hospital. And it just was really weird. But it's also good to see that Sydney is taking it really seriously. I didn't see anything like that in Heathrow. It was really crazy. So as of right now, when you do land in Australia from anywhere, I believe, anywhere internationally, you have a mandatory 14 days quarantine in a randomly assigned hotel. You cannot choose your hotel, as hard as some people may try. You can't do it. They just take you wherever has availability. So we were eventually dropped off at the Amora Hotel. Here I am, which honestly, we're counting our blessings because it's a brilliant hotel. I think it's like 4.5 stars or something. Incredible. And we also have a balcony, which is wild. You'll see more of that in my vlogs, I'm sure. They're taking you to a randomly assigned hotel, and we sat in the bus out the front of the hotel for maybe 30 minutes, if maybe even like 45 minutes. It took so long. The whole trip from the plane to the hotel was 2 hours. So that added a whole other aspect to our travel. We were exhausted by this point. I was fuming. I just wanted to get off the bus. So then a police officer came on board. It was pretty much just like, so we know you don't want to be here. We know you're probably going to hate it, but this is the rules. You're at this nice hotel and the defense force can take your bags up to your room for you while you check in. And so we just checked in. We actually were offered a bigger room with no balcony, but we decided we're going to need the fresh air for the next 2 weeks. So we eventually just picked this room. The other good thing that they do here is they do 3 PCR tests, so the COVID up your nose, down the back of your throat ones, and they do them on day 2, day 7, and day 13, I believe, so just before you go out. And I think that's great that they do that. They also have mental and physical health calls every single day. A nurse will call you from reception, ask how you're going if you need anything like that. And you get 3 meals a day dropped to your door in a lovely brown paper bag. And with a fierce knock on the door, it's there ready to go, which is quite comforting. You're not allowed to see anyone else really. You have to wear a mask every time you open the door. But like I said, it's all pretty fine. Like, it doesn't really feel like a prison at this point, at least. So that was really good, and we're just really happy to be here, to be honest. There are a lot of other hotels I've seen in this Facebook group where some don't even have windows that open. So to have somewhere with a balcony and fresh air is incredible, and like I said before, we're just so thankful. You can also get groceries and Deliveroo and Uber Eats delivered to the hotel. The reception bring it up for you, and they do check how much alcohol you're getting, I believe. And other than that, they just drop it to your door and then they run away. I think that's actually really good because I don't eat a lot of the fancy things that they're probably going to bring me here. So I'm definitely going to need to rely on Uber Eats soon. But yeah, honestly guys, when you've been traveling for 48 hours plus the other 2 it took to get from the airport to here, when you lie on those sheets, those fresh, crisp hotel sheets, you almost forget that you have to pay $2,000 to be here. Yeah, I said almost forget because, yeah, I'm still bitter. The cost of the quarantine depends on how many people you're staying with. So it's $2,000 for me, so £1,000, and $2,000 for Glenn as well. So altogether it's $4,000. If you are there on your own, I believe it's $3,000. So if you want to cut the cost, bring someone along with you to quarantine with. And for children, it is $500 above the age of 3 for each child. So if you had a family of like 2 adults and 2 kids, you're looking at paying about $5,000. So yeah, that is the real kicker, not the, you know, $300-ish for the extra bag or the $150 for the PCR test or the £700 for the flight. No. It is the $2,000 that we have to pay to quarantine. Yeah, so I guess the good thing is that we did get a good hotel, so we'd probably be paying that anyway if we wanted to stay here. I actually joked with Glenn and said we couldn't afford to stay here if we actually wanted to, so luckily for us we got a little bit of luxury here. It does kind of seem like a lot of money at the time, a little bit of a money grab, but you know, I guess maybe the government can't afford to pay for 3 meals a day for everyone. I don't know, I just think it is a little bit silly, but it is something that, you know, is going to stop a lot of people from coming home, unfortunately, which does suck because you don't get refunds from airlines quickly. So people are already out thousands of dollars from cancelled flights, and yeah, it just really sucks for people that are still trying to come home. And I wish that the government would kind of realize that and be a bit more sympathetic to those that do really need to come back and can't afford it. So you can be exempt from the quarantine costs, but I do think it's quite hard to get from what I've seen online. So yeah, maybe something for the government to reconsider. Probably not going to happen, but yeah, anyway, I'm just whinging at this point. Anyway, just to add to my little whinge, I have actually seen that there have been quite a few celebrities that have either got to quarantine at their own home or didn't have to quarantine at all. Brilliant, actually, yeah, great. So yeah, okay, that's enough. I'm just whinging at this point. But I just really want people to know how freaking hard it was to actually be able to come home. I thought for sure that at least one of our 3 flights was going to be cancelled for some reason or bumped or moved around. So yeah, it's been a real struggle, but we're here, so I'm just gonna, you know, relax a little bit now and chill out. But that was essentially our story time. If anyone has any questions about anything else, drop them in the comments and I'll have a read and get back to you, or maybe film a separate video. But for right now, just gonna chill out and enjoy the fact that I'm finally home. There were a few other things that I haven't covered, like all the stuff we had to do with our room before we left London, getting it filled and rented. We did ship a suitcase home as well. If anyone wants to know how to do that, then let me know. But yeah, now I'm just gonna go do nothing. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will hopefully see you guys next week. Bye.